In this video, I will tell you 3 horror stories that happened in real life. In 2007, Daniel Harris was working as a nurse at an old hospital in Chicago. The hospital was nearly 90 years old, and several sections had been shut down due to mysterious incidents that no one could explain. Staff members often spoke of strange occurrences happening at night, especially on the 3rd floor, which had been closed off for years after a horrific incident, one that no one dared to talk about openly. Daniel wasn't someone who believed in ghost stories. He often mocked his colleagues when they shared tales of unexplained noises, doors opening by themselves, and eerie figures appearing in photographs. He thought it was all superstition. Until that night. It was around 2 a.m., and the hospital was completely silent. Daniel was sitting in the nurses' station with his colleague Lisa and a few other staff members, chatting quietly over coffee. Suddenly, the intercom system crackled to life, and a voice called out, "Please report to room 306. A heavy silence fell over the room. Daniel turned to Lisa, confused, and said, 306? Isn't that on the closed floor?" Lisa nodded slowly, her face pale with fear. One of the nurses whispered, "No one should be there. The 3rd floor is completely empty." Daniel assumed it was just a technical glitch or maybe a prank. But his curiosity got the best of him, so he decided to go check it out. He took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. As soon as the doors slid open, he was greeted by an icy cold air, even though the air conditioning system had been shut down in that section for years. The dimly lit hallway stretched before him, lined with old patient rooms that had been untouched for decades. He walked forward cautiously, making his way to room 306. He noticed that the door was slightly open, as if someone had entered just moments ago. Taking a deep breath, he gently pushed it open and stepped inside. The room was covered in dust. The walls were cracked, and the old medical equipment lay beneath worn-out white sheets. The hospital bed stood in the center, its sheets torn and faded. But then Daniel noticed something that made his blood run cold. There were footprints on the dusty floor leading from the bed to the door, as if someone had just gotten up and walked away. A chill ran down his spine before he could react. He heard heavy breathing behind him. Turning slowly, he saw something that nearly stopped his heart. In the corner of the room stood a frail old man dressed in an outdated hospital gown, staring directly at him. His eyes were sunken, his skin deathly pale. His mouth opened as if to scream, but no sound came out. Daniel bolted for the door, running as fast as he could toward the elevator. He smashed the button repeatedly, but the elevator wouldn't respond. Then he heard it, heavy footsteps approaching from the far end of the hallway. And then, the lights went out. Trapped in complete darkness, Daniel heard whispers all around him. Then he felt it, a cold hand gripping his shoulder. He let out a terrified scream, broke free, and sprinted toward the emergency staircase, never daring to look back. When he reached the 2nd floor, Lisa saw him, his face pale, his body trembling. He was unable to speak for several moments, but when he finally did, he swore he would never go back to the 3rd floor again. The next day, Daniel dug into the hospital records and uncovered a terrifying truth. 40 years ago, a patient named George Miller had died in room 306 due to a horrific medical mistake during surgery. The doctor responsible vanished a week later and was never found. Ever since then, staff members had reported hearing strange noises from that floor until it was permanently sealed off. But it seemed that George never left. After that night, Daniel tried to forget what happened, but he couldn't. Every time he worked the night shift, he felt something watching him. Then one night, while sitting in the ER, he noticed that the computer screen in front of him flickered to life on its own. A single message appeared. "Why did you leave me there?" Daniel froze in his seat. He didn't have time to process it because just then the intercom system crackled again. "Please report to room 306. This time, Daniel didn't go. The next morning, he quit his job and left the hospital for good. But the strange part, even after leaving, Daniel would still receive anonymous calls late at night, and when he answered, he would hear only heavy breathing. They say some souls never find peace, and they keep looking for someone to hear their story. In 2005, David was traveling for work in Chicago and booked a room in an old hotel. From the moment he entered, he felt something unsettling, but he ignored it and went up to his room. On the first night, he suddenly woke up to the sound of low laughter. He felt an unnatural coldness, and when he reached for his phone, he sensed a light pressure on his shoulder. He turned on the lights but found no one there, and noticed that the closet door was open, even though he had closed it before going to sleep. On the second night, while he was working, the lights went out for a few moments. Shortly after, he heard knocking on the door, but no one was there. When he came out of the bathroom, he saw the word "leave" written on the fogged-up mirror. On the third night, he decided to record sounds while he slept. In the morning, he listened to the recording and heard faint whispers, followed by a clear voice saying, "Why are you here?" At that moment, he couldn't take it anymore. He packed his belongings and left the hotel in the middle of the night, feeling as if something was watching him until the very last moment. In 1992, the Jean family moved into an old house in a suburb of Kansas. The house had a long history of strange incidents. At first, things seemed normal, but soon they began hearing odd sounds at night, like footsteps on the stairs and doors opening and closing on their own. One night, while Jean was watching her children in the living room, she suddenly turned toward the front door of the house. The door slowly opened until it stopped, and when she approached it, she felt cold drafts of air. When she tried to open the door to leave, the opposite side of the door was firmly gripped, as though by an unseen hand. Her family was then moved out of the house, where it was revealed that the neighborhood had been the site of an old massacre over a century ago. These are the 3 stories for this video. I hope they are terrifying. As you know, this is the first video on the Deep Horror channel. The channel's content will focus on scary stories, terrifying adventures, and strange and eerie mysteries. All videos will be based on true stories, and their length will range from 7 minutes to an hour, depending on the story. That's all for now. Stay tuned.